Welcome back, everybody. Gaming Grandpa here doing the FM Challenge in FIFA 23. This is team number 2 PSV, and this is our first transfer special. Now, I arrived with the team about a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks into the season. So the transfer window the big transfer window from July and August was already over, and I immediately started signing some players after I figured out what registration was. Now remember, I have to have 8 Netherlands players that were trained in the country for 3 years under the age of 21, and then 4 that have been trained by the club. Now, that's harder than it sounds when you first take over a team, because my youth academy, obviously I don't have any players there that have been here that long, so that's not going to help me. So I had to pretty much go through and search every Netherlands player in FIFA to find some that were trained in the country. There's a lot that are not trained in the country. So, but you'll also notice that I had 11 players that were initially at the squad that were trained in the Netherlands. So I was able to get rid of 3 of them, but there was also a lot of other players that I wanted to get rid of because they were maxed out in development, or they were 30, 32, whatever. So I wanted to kind of get rid of some of them. Now you'll notice there was a lot of Austin FC players here. This is the first time that I have ever gone back to a previous team and taken a lot of players. I mean, I bought them and traded and whatnot, but I don't normally do that. But I felt obligated to help out some of these players because, they're in the MLS and they're young and, they want to get more play time. And a lot of these guys didn't have that much play time with me. So anyhow, we're going to get on with this transfer special. And the first incoming signing I had was King. Now, when I signed these players, I wanted to sign players that were able to get the Netherlands requirements done. So in other words, 3 years at the club under the age of 21, they have to be trained at the club or in country, but I'm going to knock out both of them. But anyway, Kane, every one of these guys when I signed them was a year younger. It's just weird because I have a spreadsheet to keep tabs on it. But anyway, King was 17 when I signed him initially. Now, he didn't come over here and he just turned 18, but you can tell I got really good deals with some of these guys. Now, I got rid of Otavio, which, no big loss. He was a Brazilian that just was maxed out and he wasn't going to get any better, and I really wasn't playing him anyway. He was a decent backup at left back, but nonetheless, I got Lund. And Otavio was worth, I think 10 million, but this is what Austin wanted, and look at Lund now. He just skyrocketed. He was like a 73 when I brought him. It's just ridiculous, and he hasn't been here that long. But anyhow, Cardoso was another one I got while getting rid of Ravalho. And then Peterson was the free agent that I signed. I wasn't able to register him, though, so he hasn't played yet. So I can't wait to get him in and get him some game time. He might be okay. He's showing great potential, and that's why I pretty much signed him as a free agent. Now, this kid, I loved him at Austin, and I trained him to be a center forward so he could work on that defensive skills. But his first game that I simmed, he had 2 goals, and he's been on a goal scoring spree. So I'm really, really happy to get him, and he skyrocketed. He has gone up. He was a 77, I think, when I signed him, but he's just, boom, he took off. Now, Bruma, I really didn't want to get rid of him because he was quick. He had 98 speed. It was ridiculous, but he was maxed out, and he wasn't going to get any better, and I'm just like, you know what? They wanted him, and so I traded. All right, Van Ginkel was one that I wanted to get rid of. He was 30, I don't know, he was old. So I did a 1-for-1 straight swap for them. All right, I did sign Sanders as a free agent, and I wasn't able to register him. Now, this coming registration, there's one player that's not going to get registered. I miscounted because I have a striker that's retiring, and I have my spreadsheet for him outgoing. And anyhow, there's one player that's not going to get registered, so it's going to be one of the free agent kids. All right, Marin, I do need a really good young goalkeeper, and he fits the bill. Now, at Austin, he was, I think, has potential to be special or exciting prospect. He's neither now, but you know what? It's fine. I'll end up making some money off of him. I signed this kid. I needed a backup. All right, I did manage to sell him. I wanted to get rid of him, and I think I made a pretty good deal on that one. All right, my last free agent that I signed was Samaras. I, at the time, needed another CDM, and he's a pretty good backup. All right, I'm glad to get rid of him. He was declining, but they overpaid for him, and I'm okay with that. But see, he was 31, so I just wanted to get rid of him. Not to mention the fact that he was from Austria, so he wasn't trained at the club. All right, I did get I did get Novak. Now, this is one of the first big signings that I got. I consider it a big signing. I paid 10.6 for him, but he's can play left back. And the reason I signed him, I'll show you here in just a bit. All right, I was debating whether or not to sell him, but I had an offer come in for a short-term loan, and I'm like, you know what? We'll go ahead and get rid of him. This was a guy that I planned on getting rid of. I just didn't want to do it until after about 6 months after being here, and because he's maxed out. Number one, believe it or not, he's a 26, and he's not going to get any better than a 77. It's kind of crazy, but I didn't really need him, so I went ahead and made some money off of him. All right, here is one of my really big signings. This kid, Benitez, was a really good servant to the club. He was an outstanding goalkeeper, but he was from Argentina. Not only that, but he was starting to decline because he was 34, I think, or something like that, and he was at 82. Now, he was only worth about 13 million, and this kid, they wanted almost 50 for him, and I talked them down to 25,000 with Benitez, which I had to give like a 20% sell-on fee, but you know what, that's okay. But look at, he is 27, and he was trained in a country, and I took him from one of our competitors, so I am really thrilled about this deal. I was very happy to get him. Now, this was a surprise. I didn't have him transfer listed. I didn't want to get rid of him. He was only 26, and he was a really good CDM for me. But Austin came in with an offer for him at 55 or something like that, and I talked him up to 57.5. But I mean, he was not declining, but he was not going to get any better than at 83. So I figured I might as well cash in on him while I could, and that helped me fund this dude who basically replaced him. But look at that, he is an 80 already, and according to SoFIFA, he's going to get up to about an 86 to 87. And I'm like, yeah, this is a perfect replacement. Not only that, but he is younger, and that's what I go for. All right, the reason I signed a left back down here, this guy, was because I had an offer for him, and I didn't have him transfer listed. I wasn't going to get rid of him for a couple of years, but Crystal Palace came in and they overpaid for him, and I said, you know what, why not? Because he wasn't declining, but he wasn't going to improve anymore either. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. So I went from that to him, and he's younger, and he's pretty much almost the same. So I figured, why not? All right. This was the kid that I had on loan. If you remember, he was evidently on a short-term loan because he came back, and I'm like, dude, you just don't fit into my plans. I was expecting you back next year. So I went ahead and transferred this to him, and I had offers. Now, normally I wouldn't like to keep him in a country, especially to the team that we're battling for first place. But you know what? They offered him offered me almost $2 million more, so I took it. All right, I didn't want to get rid of this dude at all. I didn't, but almost every one of my players had a damn release clause when I got here, and I just didn't want to renew his contract. But look at the speed. I don't like losing speed. I hate losing speed. And he was a pretty good rotational player, but he wanted an important role, and he was always complaining about playtime. So I could have re-signed his contract and voided the sale, but I went ahead and took the money. And because of that, I was able to take another Austin FC player, Gittins, who I just... At Austin FC, I didn't know if I wanted to get rid of him or not. I didn't know if I wanted to keep him, because I was about to get rid of him because of the other talent I had. But he fits in perfectly with my plan. And not only that, but he is already better than what Bertison was. So I'm like, you know what? And if you notice, most of these players are one-for-one exchanges. What I mean is, Bertison was a non-trained player in the country, and so Gittins is too, so it works out great for me, and I did manage to pick up a couple more Netherlands players, so I am sitting at I think 11 or 12 Netherlands players now, so I have plenty for the registration. But anyhow, that takes care of the transfers. Now I did want to show you the youth academy. Now In Austin FC, because of the domestic rule and all the other crap, to get green cards and everything else, I consider all loans domestic. I don't have to worry about that here. So because of that, my scouting, I'm not reloading my scouting when my scouts come back. I am just pretty much going with whatever they get me. And it's working out to about I'm getting about one youngster every 3 months. It seems like for each country. I've found one. A couple I haven't found any. But, that's what happens. So anyhow, I wanted to go through and find this kid. Where is he at? Venezuela. This dude here was worth $3.9 million at age 17, and I had to sign him. And matter of fact, I think I have 2 people from Venezuela. Yep, this dude. Not worth as much, but he has great potential, so I figured why not. Now remember, this kid, and him came with the academy when I took over the game. They're never going to make it out of here. I am just I don't know why I haven't released them yet. I probably should, but I'm not really worried about salary, so it's okay. But if I run out of room, then these 3 guys are gone, unfortunately. Because, look at 60 to 64 potential. What the hell do I want you in my youth academy for, dude? It's just like, seriously. Now, normally I wouldn't have signed this kid because his max potential is 83. But he was worth like $2 million or something crazy like that. So I went ahead and signed him, and I'll end up probably bringing him up and selling him. Now, once again, unless these kids have been here 2 years, and some of them are hitting that mark, they don't have to be registered. So I am going to be bringing a couple of them up here pretty soon once they hit that 2-year mark, and they'll be able to be registered, or not, they'll be able to play for the senior team without being registered. So anyhow, I'm just going to show you the starting lineup now. All right, Romero, who was my substitute goalkeeper or striker. Remember De Jong, who was my captain, he had a transfer arrangement before I even come here, so he's gone. This dude's retiring, so he's no longer my starter. And, of course, Mukoko started, and then Romero is filling in for that. Now, I almost had a deal worked out to trade Romero for Xerxes, Joshua Xerxes from RB Leipzig, but when I looked on FIFA to check, he wasn't training in the Netherlands, number 1. But number 2, he was maxed out. He wasn't going to develop anymore. I'm like, you know what? I ain't going to waste the money on a guy that's not going to get better and make me some money. So I didn't pull that trigger. All right, now the midfield pretty much hasn't changed as far as the attacking 3. Zalewski, Till, and Gakpo. Now, Till and Gakpo are both maxed in development. They are not getting any better. Now, I did have an offer from Gakpo for Juventus, I believe it was, for like $100 million, and I was going to pull the trigger, but then I realized that I have no more players trained at the club, so I had to keep him, and I had to turn that down. But he has been really good for me this year. All right, so Lund is going to be my right back. Cardosa, who I got from Austin, also, he's one of the starting center backs, along with Obispo, who is from the club. Van der Vaart, of course, we covered him in the transfer special, and Taylor, I covered him in the transfer special. And then this dude's my new goalkeeper. So this is going to be the substitutions pretty much all year. And then one of these kids down here, either Peterson, Sanders, or Samaras, is not going to get registered. And it's probably going to be Peterson. So I wanted to get rid of him, but he's a Netherlands player, and he's rotational, so he's okay. So I'm going to keep him until Marin gets a little bit bigger. And we have to have 2 goalkeepers and 1 on backup anyway, so I figured why not. But that's going to be the starting lineup. Now, I'm going to have another video coming out here fairly shortly because this is the first game after the transfer window. And we're going to end up playing Groningen. Now, I also have another round of the Cup game, and I didn't record that one earlier, but we have the Europa League games. Now, I was wrong. I forgot that they changed the format of the Europa League, and I should have known better. But I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick what I'm talking about if I could get to the right tab. All right, the standings. And we're in first place, so it looks like at this rate we're going to win the league. Was not counting on that. Didn't really, I don't know how I feel about that yet, but, it is what it is. But anyway, all right, this conference league is new this year. Now, what happens, a lot of these players, like from Famalico, I can't pronounce it. They were in our group and they got third place. So instead of being disqualified from postseason, they move them down to this conference league. So it's kind of like the lower echelons of the Europa League. So it's kind of neat. So if we do get knocked out, we get to come in another round, and that was kind of neat. So I forgot, though, that the preliminary round comes after the group stages. Doggone it, I don't know why I didn't do that. Instead of going straight into the knockout rounds, the Europa League takes the second place finishers, which we're second place, remember, even though I thought we had first place. But it takes the third place finishers of the Champions League and brings them down here. So there was 8 of them and 8 second place finishers in the Europa League, and we play this preliminary round, and then the winners get to go to the knockout round. So it's confusing, but I understand it, and we didn't have a draw either. It just, boom, this was on my schedule. But I think we got one of the best draws that we could have hoped for, because I damn well don't want to play Sevilla, Leverkusen, or Sporting, or anybody like that. And I don't think we were able to play AZ because they're from our country. So I think we got one of the best draws that we could have, and hopefully we'll end up advancing and making it to the knockout round. That way I can get my objective complete. But we're on track for the objectives. We're doing pretty well. I just wasn't counting on winning the league in my first season here. But you know what? We had a fairly good team anyway, and they were predicted to, finish second or third anyway, so it's not really that big of a stretch. But this is why I'm here, is for the continental soccer. I love it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the transfer special, and I'm getting tired, guys, so I'm sorry that this got a little bit boring. Normally I like to talk a lot more, but as you can tell, we have 26 players. I can only register 25. Now, when my other striker retires at the end of the season, then I'll be down to 25. And there's a couple moves that I want to probably take here pretty soon. And I do have some money to spend. But I may go ahead and get another youth scout when they get back. And we'll see what happens. But there's not really many players. There's 2 players that I really, really want to get. But I need to have a huge sell in order to do that, or get a lot of money next transfer window. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, I just want to say this is the end of the very first transfer special at PSV. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all soon.